Okay, this is the lecture file for 13.6, taking you through how to construct this proof by hand, and to show you that it's slightly different than doing it by computer, which is, again, just to get you ready for the final. So get out your sheets and follow along. Here we go. So the first thing you try when you start you go to the bottom and you go through those strategies. So the first thing you try is, can you use e-elim? Existential elim. You never look at the line you're at, so you cover that up. You only look above. You don't have an E as the main connective in any of these. The first one is an all sentence. Everything is a large cube or a small tet. The second one says all tets are in back of C, all blah blah. And the third one says everything is not small and large at the same time. Each object can't be small and large at the same time. So none of these are existential sentences. They're all universal. How do you know those are the main connectives? That's why meaning is so important. When you say it, it tells you what the main connective is. So the first one is everything is blah blah. Okay. So you can't use elim. So then you try the second strategy, the second most powerful strategy from that first page, which is or elim. Can you use or elim? You need or as the main connective. Like with elim, you need or as the main connective above. One has an or, but it's not the main connective. It's a universal statement. So if you see an or there and you think, oh, I can use or elim there, that's actually not applicable, but it is related to that. We'll get to that later. So or elim is out. So now we're on to the backwards method, and the backwards method says now you look at the line you're at. What's the main connective here? Well, this says everything that is small is in back of C. So it's a universal. You guess intro, so you write that down. Anytime you put in the rule, you then look it up, and when you look it up in the sheet, what does it require? I have the three things in bold. So it says you first need one subproof, and then at the top you have to have a box constant. And the restriction is you can't choose a constant that's already being used. So take a look around. Do you see any constant above that's already in play? And the answer is yes. There's C here. C is out, so you got to choose something else. Let's choose A. We could choose anything but C. Let's just use A. And then the third thing you need is you take the universal below, you drop the universal, and you put the remaining predicate statement up above. So it would be SX arrow back of XC, but you can't have X, you got to have the constant you choose up here. So you replace the X with A and then A. So this says basically, it says let A stand for any old constant whatsoever. A is arbitrary. It could be B, C, it doesn't matter. But the idea is you're using a particular to talk about all things, right? And it's like saying, take this particular person, and then you talk about them, blah, blah, blah. And you're saying, look, this holds for everyone. So what holds for this particular person really holds for every person whatsoever. You're doing the same kind of reasoning here. So you're saying, let A stand for any old object whatsoever. If you can show that if A is small, then A is in back of C, you've really shown that all objects that are small are in back of C. Okay? You move your pointer up to there now. Anytime you move up, you back to the first page. What do you try first? You try e-elim. Is that an option? No, there's no E above still. It's the main connective. So then you're on to or elim. Is that an option? Same deal. There's no or above as the main connective. So now you're onto the backwards method. Look at the line you're at here. Identify the main connective, which is the arrow. And then you guess intro. You flip to it in the rule sheet. You look it up. And what does it say you need? It says you need, this is one from the midterm. The old rules carry over, remember. So it says you need one subproof. At the top goes the left side of the conditional, so SA, and at the bottom goes the right side of the conditional, B, back of AC. Sorry, that should be C, not X. AC. I'm using shorthand here just to make it cleaner. Back of AC, small and so forth. So I move up now. You repeat the same process. Can I use e-elim? No. Can I use or elim? No. On to the backwards method. But the backwards method says that there's no main connective here. So now when this is simple, you're on to step 4 of the backwards method and you're working top down, right? So you got to use the things above and try to find a way to this. Okay, so here's the slightly tricky thing that some of you will get this and some of you won't. And this is where it starts to depend on meaning. You could use, we can number this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all we can number so far. For the premises 1, 2, and 3, they don't none of them really give us direct help with back of AC. You see back of here in 2, but that says all tets are in back of C. If we knew A was a tet, then it would follow that A is in back of C. This is where you guys sort of think ahead and think meaning. The first one is actually the one you need. The first one says everything is a cube, a large cube, or a small tet. So up here at 6, this is the advanced move, okay? This is where we work top down, and we're going to try to notice something. If I use 1, I'm working top down, I'm going to get some kind of elim row. I'm going to use universal elim because that's the main connective. It's always relative to main connectives. It says everything is a large cube or a small tet. That holds for everything. Look this up in the rule sheet. Universal elim says you can then, if that holds for everything, you can say it holds for any particular instance. Since I'm talking about A here, I want to use A. So if A is a cube and large, so A is a cube and large, or A is a tet and small. The idea here again is everything is a large cube or a small tet. Since that holds for everything, it'll hold, for example, for A. So A's got to be a large cube or a small tet. That's universal elim from 1. And now that the reason I did that, the only reason I did that is because it gives me now an OR. An OR, when you have access to it, gives you access to one of the most powerful rules. In fact, now it's the second most powerful rule. It's OR elim. So I go back down to back of AC, and I'm going to put OR elim here, and that's what I need. And now you got to look that up. If you remember, what does it require? It requires 2 subproofs. We're running out of space here. Remember, when you do proofs by hand, you got to make sure you have enough space. I might not make it here. We'll see. So at the top of the subproof, remember, anytime you choose the rule, look it up. OR elim requires 2 subproofs. At the top goes each of the cases or the sides of the OR. So one case is cube A and large A, and the other case is tet A and small a. Okay? And now you've got to move up and solve both of these. Let's go for this one first because this one actually works out better, the second subproof. It says A is a tet and A is small. I want to get A's in back of C. And if you remember from 2, when we talked about this a bit earlier, it says it's of the form all blah blah. All tets are in back of C. So working top down, if I know all tets are in back of C, it'll follow that if A, for example, is a tet, then A will be in back of C. And that's conditional, sorry, not conditional, but universal elim from 2, because it says all things. If they're tets, then they're in back of C. That holds for all things. So it'll hold, for example, for A. If A is a tet, then A is in back of C. Conditional, universal elim 2. And now I'm almost there. If I have tet A, I could get A's in back of C. So tet A comes from this one. That'll be and elim. And then conditional elim will give me back of AC. What I didn't set up here for OR elim was each of the S's. The other S here that I need to set up was back of AC. Yeah? But that's what I'm aiming for in each of the cases. That's why I just went straight forward for the second subproof and said let's work top down. I know A is a tet and A is small, so it follows that A is a tet. The reason I want that is because 2 says all tets are in back of C. So if A is a tet, which I've just shown, then A is in back of C, which is what I want. Now the other one, this other subproof is the hard one. You move up there, and now if you try to work top down, you've got A is a cube and A is large, and you want to get back of AC. And there doesn't seem to be any relation between this, A being a cube and A large, and this, back of AC. Here's where you got to look around. You're supposing in this first case that A is a cube and A is large. But what did you assume earlier in 5? That A is small. If A is a cube and A is large, can A be small at the same time? No, that's a contradiction. So I'm going to break off LA here, large A. That's and elim from right here. And then with that, I'm going to put them together to form, and I'm going to put an arrow here just to enter this stuff in because I'm running out of space. Small a and large A. So this goes with that. Small a and large A will be and intro. And then there's that other piece of information I haven't used yet, which is number 3. Everything is not small and large at the same time. That holds for everything. That's always true. For each object, you can't have it being small and large at the same time. And what this says right here is A is small and large at the same time. That's no good. That's a kind of contradiction. So from 3, I get not, parentheses, small a and large A. That's universal elim from 3. And then with these two together, I form a contradiction. That's contradiction intro. Because this is your not P and that's your P. And then with the contradiction, you can write anything you want. So the back of AC actually comes from contradiction elim. Okay, I know this is a little messy, I'm sorry, but the answer file in Fitch, which is where you're going to have to do this anyway, is contained in the picture file. And you can take a look there for the details as to the numbers and how to fill this in. But what matters more here in the written file is going through the reasoning, and I want you guys to follow as best you can. This is a pretty tough problem, but try to follow the reasoning. If you can do this by hand, you're in really good shape, because this is pretty much as hard as it's going to get, and certainly harder than what you're going to see on the final. Okay? Alright, so try it out, give it a shot. I have more practice with the videos and stuff by hand, and also in the review section. Alright folks, we're almost there to the end. Keep at it.